It is still all quiet on the portal front, but Lil Wayne said it best. Real GMs move in silence like what, Kenton?
You are Locked On Wolfpack, your daily podcast on the NC State Wolfpack, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Like lasagna. What's up, Wolfpack Nation? It's time to get locked in with Locked On. Thanks for making Locked On Wolfpack your first listen each and every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Our Monday show is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. You might need that. It's a big week for NC State baseball. Terms, as always, apply. Head on over to Gametime today. Happy Monday to all. As always, I'm Grayson Boone, joined by former Wolfpack defensive tackle Kenton Gibbs. Kenton, unfortunately, we're picking right back up from where we left off on Friday, which is still no significant portal news for NC State basketball. We spoke about Mackenzie Mgbako at the end of last week, choosing Texas A&M seemingly in the middle of the night over NC State. Have to imagine the bag man came through with the bag for the Aggies down in College Station. So what does that mean for NC State moving forward? Well, they pivot their interests. We also spoke about Terrence Arsenault, who is a 6'6" guard from Houston, who did visit NC State in the latter half of last week. By all accounts, I've heard very good things about how that visit went, and it's essentially down to us and UVA. Now, Arsenault actually just arrived to UVA, I believe, here on Monday, is expected to be there through Wednesday. And like I said at the end of last week, that's another situation where I expect a decision to be made here probably by the end of this week, good or bad. It seems like NC State is going to be in another war here coming at the end of this week.
Well, in the words of one Drago, we've been in and out of war. Feel like I need some medals because, boy, this is...
Don't I know it? Don't I know it?
This season has not been easy on anybody. You know, it's been a lot of folks running around like chickens with their head cut off, trying to keep up with all the different moving and shaking and goings and comings. And, you know, it's so tough to kind of keep a good hold on this thing because everybody imagines when guys come to their school, oh, they're definitely committing and all that. But, you know, it just doesn't always work out that way. And even beyond that, it's interesting to see how the first wave of guys that jumped in the spring, according to Trilly Donovan and company, may not be the best wave of guys jumping in spring here. And so, you know, you're seeing all these different things happen or not happen. And, you know, Grace and I were getting excited about some visits last week, which we told you on air about, hey, we got some great guys who aren't on the radar right now coming through. But at the end of the day, I mean, all of this doesn't matter if we can't get pen to paper. Right now, the only commitment I've seen to NC State that folks were on the fence about was Amir Orakan. He's now in Raleigh, but everybody else, you know, go on and sign that letter. Go on and stop playing.
I do want to clarify too, because I've been asked a million times in the last couple of days. So the tweets that we had last week, everybody wanted to know, was Mgbako the player you were tweeting about? Is everything gone now? No. The player that the tweets were connected to is very much still in play. So that is a reason to keep your eyes and ears to the streets as this the rest of this week here wages on. So Terrence Arsenault is going to be a name to watch here, more than likely by the end of this week. Obviously, again, he is at UVA, has already been to NC State, and it is expected that it will be a decision made between those two schools. Things are fluid, as we've all seen. Certain players can take additional visits that weren't, publicly known or scheduled. That's just the way this thing works. So Terrence Arsenault will be a name to watch. Another name I have to talk about here on Monday is Darion Reed. Now, Darion Reed is the name that popped up a couple weeks ago. He is the forward from Alabama, former McDonald's All-American, 5-star guy, former top player out of high school in the country, coming into the college ranks. Spent just 1 year at Alabama this past year, hit the portal. And when he did hit the portal, it was expected that both NC State and Georgia would be the two front runners. Georgia, right after that, kind of withered away. And then NC State seemed to be the only school slotted into being the favorite for Darion Reed. Since then, I've seen Oklahoma connected to him, BYU connected to him, which would be entirely annoying, but that's another point. I say all that to say, Darion Reed was on campus at NC State here on Monday. I do have that confirmed. So my question to you, Kenton, after missing on Mackenzie Mgbako this past week, how important does the recruitment of Darion Reed now become for Will Wade and the staff?
Oh, extremely important. I mean, you look at the situation here, and even with all of the newer guards that we're seeing who are averaging double-digit points and whatnot jumping in the portal, you know what we haven't seen a lot of? Big guys getting in the portal. We haven't seen this in this second wave, quote unquote, of portal players. We haven't seen a ton of very big guys jumping in. And the reality is, Coach Keith showed us, you can do everything right. You need some size. You need some size, okay? That is just that's not a, it's nice to have. That's not a, oh, well, maybe you could coach around it. Not in the ACC. Not around here, player. Not around here. So I look at this and I say Reed is an extremely important get at this time because, again, how many more quality bigs are going to be hitting? How many more bigs, period, are going to be hitting the portal? And Grayson and I are young enough to remember going to games in person and seeing the results of putting all your eggs in a certain big basket and not landing that big, or having very limited depth in terms of your bigs, and then somebody goes down immediately, and you have to watch the rest go at it. It's ugly. It's ugly, okay? You're then playing with guys who, I mean, hey, they be legends in the Colonial. They be legends in the MEAC. They be legends in the Big Sky. But in the ACC, they're just flatly inadequate.
Darion Reed, coming from Alabama, is both a must-have and a can't-miss. He is a can't-miss recruit in a sense that you have to land a big at this stage in the cycle, since you have missed on Mackenzie Mgbako at the end of last week. But he's also a must-have because of the untapped potential that he still has. Being a big at Alabama, I mean, under the Nate Oates system, it's kind of here, it's kind of there. When they're going to shoot a jillion threes in a game, there's only so much involvement the bigs can really have, unless they're, a stretch four like we saw with Jaron Stevenson. But even then, the bigs for Alabama, outside of even Grant Nelson, I would say, weren't like the star of the show. It was Mark Sears. The guards at Alabama, they are the players that stir the drink. And so a player like Darion Reed, who's a 6'8", 6'9", 6'10" forward, who is, one of the best bigs in the country coming out of high school, is a highly regarded player that has not been able to reach his peak potential. And that's a buzz sentence that I said probably 74 times last week, but it's extremely true. And you can see the game plan of Will Wade and the staff identifying some of these highly coveted that are 1 to 2 years out of high school, that it seems like they just haven't quite reached what everyone thought they would be once they got to the college ranks, where, whether that's Mackenzie Mgbako or Darion Reed or insert other names that we've talked about here. Darion Reed is a must get for NC. It's also increasingly important that they can make that happen here in a short amount of time. We saw this last week, and I guess learned the hard way, that the longer a recruitment saga wages on, the more time the other teams have to come in, get their bagman finances in order to pull off a heist like we saw the Texas A&M Aggies do. So it's also a common acceptance that when you get a player's first official visit, a first visit amongst all the others, you're going to be very likely to secure the commitment if everything goes exactly the way you want it to on that first visit. So I mentioned it last week, NC State getting Darion Reed first can certainly go a long way, because this is a recruit that they cannot afford to miss on, especially after missing on Mgbako. So Darion Reed is certainly another name to keep an eye on for the extent of this week. I do know that, like I said, Oklahoma's been involved with them. I believe they have a visit scheduled, but again, that's something to keep your eyes peeled for here moving forward. And BYU is suddenly the richest team in the country with the way they've been shelling out the Benjamins out there in Utah. So we'll see. For NC State, you want to move up this timeline. You want to physically pick up the finish line and push Darion Reed through it. It figure of speech, of course, but it's so important that you can land this guy to help build out the rest of your roster. So 2 names that we'll give you here on Monday to keep an eye on for the rest of the week: Terrence Arsenault from Houston, Darion Reed from Alabama. Coming up next, we'll talk more about some of the silence. Everybody's restless. We're restless. We all want to talk about news, celebrate news. We're still not getting it. And I know you're tired of hearing us talk about it, but it's important to know where the staff stands, even when they're not exactly making things public. More on this after a quick word from our sponsors. Our first Monday sponsor is Supply House. Get the supplies you need from the site made for the skilled trades, Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the most reliable way to order your products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from the top 400-plus brands, you'll always find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. If you need help with an order, Supply House offers industry-leading support and service, so you'll always be able to talk to a real person and not a robot. And for trade pros looking for that extra edge, their free Trademaster program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on each and every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage, and now it's your turn. Join the Trademaster program today at supplyhouse.com/TM, capital T, capital M, at supplyhouse.com. You can start ordering your plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, you can use the promo code SH5, capital S, capital H, and the number 5 for 5% off of your first order. Only on supplyhouse.com. Middle portion of our Monday show, wanted to talk more about missing a recruit like Mgbako at the end of last week and the restlessness of the fan base that I can feel, Kenta can feel, I'm sure the coaching staff, Will Wade can feel, all of NC State-related media can feel. People want to see movement in a meaningful way, talking about the transfer portal and, deadlines to hit. Like we talked about this last week, the transfer portal deadline, so to speak, is on Tuesday, the 22nd. That is just for underclassmen to enter their names into the portal. So if you are an underclassman and you're looking to transfer, your name must be in the portal by, I believe it is midnight on Tuesday. Grad transfers are free to move about whenever they so please. And you also do not have to have your next stop by Tuesday, because that would be complete chaos if all rosters had to be filled out by Tuesday. So names just have to be in the portal. Talked about this a little bit last week, Kenton. Obviously, it has now spilled over into this week with the lack of additional news. NC State still remaining quiet, and there hasn't been any more commitments or really a whole lot of buzz outside of a couple guys that we know are visiting. How much do you continue to trust this staff moving forward that even though it's quiet, they will get things right?
My trust level is the exact inverse of my panic meter, pretty much. So let's say I've got a 10 on the scale, right? Whatever is not filled up on my panic meter is filled up by trust, which would mean I got about a 7. I'm 7.5 maybe. Here's the thing. This is year one.
Yeah.
And yes, everybody's expecting an instant turnaround. Will Wade said, hey, I'm going to get this team top 4 seed in the ACC, get to the tournament, all that stuff. Absolutely. Absolutely. I will say this. In college basketball, coaching matters a lot more than in almost any other sport. Almost any other sport, would I say, on court and what you're doing, not just who you have, but how you're arranging them matters more in college basketball than almost anything else.
I can see the vision on that.
And so with that in mind, I'm not particularly worried about year one, like, oh, God, we're missing recruits or whatever the case may be, because Will Wade may have to show and prove for a year or two to recruits, hey, we can win in Raleigh big time and consistently in order to kind of rebuild NC State, to return NC State to its former glory. Like, that may be a possibility, which, again, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. And again, if Will Wade doesn't hit the expectations that he set for himself, would that be a failure of a season to me? No. I mean, it just wouldn't be. If he's a top 6 guy in the ACC, or if this is the top 6 team in the ACC on the bubble for the tournament, I wouldn't see that as a failure. But also, again, there's still a lot of time left. There is still a lot of players left out there, and players who are going to hop in before midnight Tuesday. So, take your time. Take your time. It's better to do it right than do it fast.
Yeah, I think your explanation of the panic meter is exactly how I feel as well. I think my panic was like, I don't know, it's like a 1.5 out of 10. That's for my trust. I'd say my trust is actually a 10. And NC State didn't dedicate all these resources, and you don't hire a coach like Will Wade and a GM like Andrew Slater to suddenly distrust them after literally a month's time. we're already questioning if Will Wade is the guy or not in Raleigh. Come on, guys. He's going to be fine. This team's going to be fine, and it's all going to come together. Don't let Dirty Foot Club fans, get online and say, Will Wade doesn't have a team by April the 21st. Look at NC State. What's going on over there in Raleigh? Does any team have a complete team by April 21st? Usually very, very few. The way this typically works for, other schools around the country, because UNC fans only care about themselves, this takes time to get into the summer and complete your roster from there on out. Just because Will Wade doesn't have, a certified big on April the 21st. Guess what, people? The season doesn't start on April the 25th. It starts on November 3rd. There is so much time for a lot of this still to play out. And I also want to speak more about the way that Texas A&M kind of swooped in and the bag man did the bag trick and got Mackenzie Mgbako to stay down there in Texas. Things that I've also, Alec Lauer and Jackson Williford of Trinity Road Times. Shout out to those two. They do great work. There's no reason for NC State to panic because this staff is sticking to their guns. They have evaluations that they want to hold themselves to, essentially preventing themselves from flinging wild money at a player that they don't think or even have convinced themselves of is going to be the key piece for a team. If you're going to break the bank to get a Mackenzie Mgbako just because you're in an arms race with Texas A&M, and if he doesn't pan out, you're going to really regret using that money, somewhat irresponsibly when you could have built the roster out in a more, supplemental way, perhaps with like an Arsenault or a Darion Reed, or insert the blank here with other names that maybe still will hit the portal, or other names that are still out there that haven't been connected to NC State yet. There is so much time, so much effort, so much more connections to be made here that there's really no reason to panic. And I know that panic and worry and eternal, what's the opposite of optimism? Disoptimism. I don't know why. I don't know why I couldn't think of that word right there, but that for some reason is somewhat like embedded in the NC State fan base because we went through decades of waiting and wishing it was going to be our turn and wondering if it would ever be us and watching the blue schools kind of, point and laugh at it. We felt like Squidward inside of the house watching those two, shake hands and dance all the time because they're not a rivalry. They're best friends. But for NC State, you didn't make all these moves to then suddenly doubt what you have here in just a month's time. Good things are coming. We certainly wish they would happen a little bit quicker because we get restless just like everyone else does. We want to talk about the great news that will be coming here in a short amount of time for NC State, just like everyone else does. So it's frustrating. I get it, but we're just going to have to keep exercising patience. And I'm tired of saying that. You're tired of hearing me say that. I'm sure I cannot believe he just said patience again in like the 16th consecutive episode. I know. But what I can tell you is the staff is working probably even more than just diligently. They are breaking their backs to trust their evaluations, use the right amount of allotted money for the players that deserve to be, rewarded as such. And those type of players will come to NC State with the end goal of transforming this program in year one. Just because you miss out on one player, it's not the end of the world. But I don't want to sugarcoat that because, missing out on Mackenzie Mgbako, it sucks. That's a player that we all wanted, the coaching staff wanted, and it sucks to miss out on a guy like that just because of, that Texas oil money. So it is what it is, but NC State is doing everything they can in doing it the right way, like Kenton just said there. That's a part that I think, or I hope, should stick with the rest of y'all. They're doing it the right way. They're trusting, everyone they have on staff, their evaluations, the resources they have. They're trusting themselves that they will get it right. And by all means, I do believe that they will.
I mean, let's just think about this logically, right? Like Grayson was saying, you don't want to go and blow your whole bank too early and all that good stuff. But let's be honest about what if this recruiting class ain't the best, but then that leaves you with a surplus for next year where you're like,
maybe it does,
oh, wait,
yeah.
I don't just get one showstopper out of high school. Let me get two. Yeah. Oh, wait, these guys are seeing with a roster where we didn't get all of our wish list guys, we still pulled off top 4 seed in the ACC, NCAA tournament, maybe win a game or two there. Oh, that's what we can do when we didn't land all the guys we wanted. Imagine what Coach Wade can do when he gets all the guys that's like, hey, you could do something special here. What could happen then? So, I'm not super worried about this. I'm not dropping the expectation in terms of, I think even from the jump, when Will Wade said, hey, top 4 seed tournament team, I'm like, those are lofty goals. I believe in you to hit them. But me personally, I'm not setting my goal there for a team year one. I get it. We saw what Pat Kelsey did with the Louisville Cardinals last year, and everybody's like, "Oh, it's easily replicable. Everybody can do it." Not quite. It requires a perfect storm of things to happen, and obviously, you can kind of create your own luck in some ways with that. But still, I'm not out on Will Wade if that does not happen year one. If we don't see that Pat Kelsey-ish turnaround in year one, I'm not out.
NC State has the right coach, the right GM, the right staff in place. They're going to go get the right players to put in the right system to make the right program in year one. That's what we have to look forward to. So again, don't let any other fan base make you worried on social media nonetheless about, no bigs? No bigs, question mark? What's going on over there in Cary or Apex or any other name but Raleigh? Don't worry about that. We're worried about us. It's the Michael Phelps meme. Maybe I'll just keep referencing the Michael Phelps meme for the foreseeable future, but just focus on our lane because that is all that matters right now. Once they get that right, then we'll move on to better things. So patience, as they say, or what did Aaron Rodgers say? Relax. Same thing. I don't know why I just brought up Aaron Rodgers, but same deal here. Take a chill pill, touch some grass, drink some water. Everything's going to be okay because good news, it is coming down the pipeline. Next order of business to round out our Monday episode. We meant to talk about this on Friday. I was actually going to predict, you probably don't believe me now, but I was going to predict that the Pac-9 would sweep in Cal. They went out and got it done, standing on business. We'll talk about why that matters so much after a quick word from our sponsors. Our second Monday sponsor is Gametime. There's nothing like the atmosphere of an NBA playoff game. Every bucket, every defensive stop, and every moment feels huge. It's electric inside the arena, and with Gametime, you can be a part of it. Gametime makes it fast and easy to get playoff tickets, and even when demand is sky high. Prices on the app actually will go down as tip-off gets closer, and their last-minute deals can save you up to 60% off. Their all-in pricing feature inside the app will show your total upfront, so you receive zero surprises at checkout. And as always, you get that fantastic panoramic view of your seat in the app before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect upon arrival. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply, and again, create an account and use redeem code LOCKEDONCollege, LOCKEDONCOLLEGE, Locked On College, for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Last couple minutes of our Monday show, talking some NC State baseball. Went out to California, and they were California not dreaming, but sweeping. I saw that from the NC State Twitter page. Fantastic work. Going out, handling business, and stepping on the neck of a team that simply is not as good as we are. And the elusive 3-game sweep is something that, for some reason, has escaped NC State for the majority of ACC play so far this year. You felt like you missed an opportunity against Virginia Tech. You missed an opportunity earlier against Pittsburgh. But to go on the road and sweep Cal, who has been a team that's struggling a bit in ACC play, it's just what the doctor ordered. And Kenton, it's suddenly moving NC State into hosting territory, which is something I mentioned last week. If NC State continues on this upward trajectory and continues this momentum in ACC play, they're going to find themselves in a great spot for a regional seed.
So for those of you who think Grayson is lying about the prediction of the sweep, just go back to last Friday's episode and look right over here, right where my finger
that's right.
is.
It is on there. It's
on the lower third. Grayson said sweepable series, to which I was wholly against. Like, hey, don't jinx it. And unfortunately, the Mgbako news broke, which kind of derailed that. But Grayson did predict this sweep. And how long has it been since they lost the series again, Grayson?
Duke. So whenever that was, that late March, I think. It's been almost a month.
Don't let the Wolfpack get hot. Don't let the Wolfpack get hot.
They might already be hot. That's the problem. They might already be hot.
That's what I'm saying. These boys are cooking, and in all seriousness, this was a great series for a ton of reasons. The pitching staff was who they were set to be in this series. But even beyond that, we found enough timely offense to get, when it looked like, well, damn, the bats just ain't batting today. We didn't just pack it up and say, you know what, we'll win the series. That's all right. We're good here. I believe that game 2, that was a comeback victory, or was it game 1?
Yeah,
Okay.
game 2 is a 7-6 victory. Trailed 6-0 going into the 5th inning. Put 6 runs on them in the top of the 5th, scored 1 in the 7th, and that is exactly where the score held. A comeback 7-6 victory in game 2. Real quick before I cut you off, Hinton, Anderson Nance, spectacular. 5 innings of perfect relief, no hits, no walks, 7 Ks. Excellent, excellent work. He's been a dog. Again, just what we needed in a comeback effort.
Yeah, again, this was a team that refused to give up, refused to give in, and refused to cede a single inch to Cal, even when it looked like, oh, man, 6-0, yeah, you can go ahead and pack it in. Just win the series on Sunday. We'll be all right. Win what? Win? No. We're going to win it today. We're not going to wait to – why put off for tomorrow what you can do today? And they got it done, and as well as getting the sweep done as well. So, great job by NC State here. You really have got to say Avon and crew have done virtually a complete 180 from early in the season when we were getting smacked around at invitationals and whatnot.
And who would have thought? Where have we seen this narrative before? That NC State, they kind of struggle out of the gate, but wouldn't you know it, April rolls around and they're ranked number 25 in the country here in Monday's poll, across most of the polls outside of a couple that are completely unserious. But this is a team that does not die. And we've said that the last couple of weeks, but this is now the 3rd ACC series where they've had some sort of comeback victory in order to take that series. You had the Virginia game where we come back miraculously. Josh Hogue gets the walk-off bomb to take that series. You had Louisville and Raleigh last weekend. You had those Friday night fireworks in which NC State found a way to come back from, I can't even remember what the deficit was. It was at least 5 or 6 runs in that one. Came back and took that one. Come back from a 6-0 deficit on the road at Cal to win that game 2, 7-6. Spectacular. And on the other side of that, that middle game 2, 9-0 on what was, let's say, Thursday night, because they didn't play on Easter. Thursday night was a 9-0 victory. Rom-Com Dom, our guy, cruising right now. 6 innings, no runs, 6 strikeouts. The offense kind of handled the rest, 9 runs. It certainly helps when you don't give up anything, that's for sure. Then you had a 5-2 victory on Saturday for the sweep. Ryan Marone, 7 2/3 innings, 9 Ks. Certainly returned to the dominant form that we saw him in kind of earlier in the season. Again, I mentioned Anderson Nance. He was spectacular in relief. Jacob Duden comes in. We all know what he is. He's a monster. The pitching staff is really starting to catch fire at the right time. Anderson Nance, I might add, is throwing so well that maybe you start looking at him for a weekend role. I mean, it's undeniable how hot he has been on the mound for the Pack and the impact he's providing. I don't know. I certainly think there's a conversation to be had. Maybe he's too valuable where he's at long relief. But if he's going to come in and mow him down like that, maybe it doesn't matter where you have him if he's going to be that effective. But I've said all that to say a 3-game sweep of the Cal Bears on the road. This is a big-time series for NC State. And that leads me into what this week will bring, and maybe I'll talk more about this on Tuesday. It needs to be a regional-esque atmosphere at the Doak. We have ECU in Raleigh on Tuesday. That needs no further explanation. And then you have the 2nd-ranked Clemson Tigers coming to Raleigh this coming weekend. If you want to host and you want to be one of the top programs in the country, these are the types of weeks that you dream about. You have ECU coming on Tuesday. Again, you better show up for that one because I can't freaking stand the Pirates. We all feel the same way about that. And then Clemson. They've been dominant in ACC play. If NC State can find a way to win 3 or 4 games this week, look at them to be ranked somewhere in the teens. And again, puts you in a beautiful position to be in hosting contention. So it's that time of year. Elliott Avent, the Pac-9 are getting hot. All you real Pac-9 fans, you're not surprised. This is what they do. This is NC State baseball. Certainly feels good to watch them get hot here at the right time to do so. That will do it for us here on Monday. Again, thank you all for the additional patience. Couldn't record on Sunday due to Easter. Hope you all had a very happy Easter with your loved ones and your family. But that will do it for us here on Monday. Be sure to hit that like button. Drop your comments in the comment box. Give us your thoughts on Terrence Arsenault, your thoughts on Darion Reed, your thoughts on the continued patience that you're struggling to deal with because we're not getting any, a wave of commitments, I guess, that we thought we would get at this stage. And then finally, let us know what you thought about the Pac-9 3-game sweep over the Cal Bears from this past weekend. Be sure to mash that subscribe button if you have not already. We'll catch you right back here tomorrow on Tuesday for more. And until then, go Pack.
Go Pack.